Hi everybody, welcome back to the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. My name is Chris and I am back with my very own starting 11 prediction video as Newcastle United return to Premier League football. The international break is over. Brighton are on the way up to St James's Park and let's see what the starting 11 shall be. Let's get straight to it. Obviously, in goal, Nick Pope. I say it every single week, but Nick Pope, he's the man. He's starting all day long. Not much conversational point when we're talking about Nick Pope because I think obviously what we saw last season, Dubravka came in, with them brought 552 goalkeepers since then. But Nick Pope holds his position as Newcastle United's number 1, number 20, or whatever the hell he is. He's the man between the sticks. Defence. So once again, we've got question marks in defence, but I think the two centre backs, the partnership that Fabian Shaw and Dan Burn have together at this moment in time, with the injuries which we have behind the scenes, obviously Sven Botman's still out, Jamal Lascelles, not much options to go with, but Dan Burn, Fabian Shaw have been great this season. And yeah, long may it continue until we wait for the rival. I think Sven Botman is the one that we're looking forward to seeing, but we just don't know how long it's going to take to get him back in amongst the lads, match fit and ready to go. But yeah, Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw to be our partnership at the back. I'm going to start with the right-hand side of the field because every time I do one of these, I'm always at basically a flip of a coin to see if it's going to be Tino or if it's going to be Tripp starting. We know there are injury concerns. I believe it's a thigh injury with Kieran Trippier at the moment, so obviously he won't be starting, which leaves you the option of Tino or Emil Kraft, really, and it's going to be Tino. Tino, bit of an up and down season so far. We're still so early on in the season, so it's really hard to judge the lad. I like Tino, big fan of him. I would love to see him get more game time. I would love to see him starting ahead of Trips. I can understand why Eddie Howe has chopped and changed a little bit, but no real option this week, so it will be Tino starting right back. Left back, do you go all guns blazing and look at what the likes of Hall offers on the left-hand side? Or do you flip it up and bring Kelly back in, who will have that more defensive approach? And we know how well Brighton are with the ball and how quickly it can counter-attack teams. If both of our wing-backs are flying up the field, that may leave us in a vulnerable situation. But we are at St James's Park. We are the team at home here. We have to come out of the traps. We have to look at to be that team to take the game to Brighton and be the more offensive of the two. So yeah, it's going to be Lewis Hall for me at left back. So yeah, you've got Tino on the right, Lewis Hall at left back, or left wing back, whatever the hell you want to call it these days. And yes, you've got Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw as centre back. I'm gonna go straight into the centre of the field. It's every single time we do one of these, we'll talk about Tonali, and if Tonali starts, this is another game for me where Tonali has to start. We saw the Everton. I thought he had a great first 45 minutes, struggled towards the last 45, looked to be absolutely shattered at times. But whatever, it was one of his first games back, and so yeah, Tonali for me comes straight in, probably on the right hand side of that midfield three. Obviously, there's that two. You've got your club captain there. You've got Bruno Guimaraes, who has been away with Brazil. He only played a couple of nights ago, I believe. But Bruno straight back into that team. Of course he is. There's no doubt about it. Of course not. And Joe Linton's the other one who will obviously be on the left-hand side of Bruno. Joe Linton's another one this season he's had a bit of an up and down season. We've seen the best and the worst of him so far. I'm a huge admirer of Joe Linton. Of course I am. And there has been times this season where I've questioned some of his decision makes, and he has been quite poor in possession of the ball, very sloppy, giving the ball away, under hitting passes. But what you get from Joe Linton from the defensive side of things and that dominance that he has in midfield, of basically he absolutely smashes people and gets them off the ball, and he's happy to cover out and drop back in those positions if needs be. So Joe Linton for me, yes, you've got the likes of a question mark over Joe Willock coming back into the team. You then have the likes of Sean Longstaff, who's been dropped as well. But for me, on paper, that midfield three is unbelievable. So I'm going to go Bruno, Joe Linton, and Tonali. On the left-hand side, I'm going to put Gordon back in, and I'll get on to the reasons for, like, how obviously Gordon back in, but back into his favourite position on the left-hand side. We know we have been using him as a striker in the absence of Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak, but despite missing the penalty, which wasn't a great penalty, but God lie about that. But despite missing that, Gordon, such a key player for us, of course he is. He comes in on the left-hand side. Obviously, rumours of that new deal being signed as well. So back at St James's Park, hopefully we do get the best of him. On the right-hand side, I think Eddie Howe will go for Jacob Murphy. That's not what I want to see. I think Jacob Murphy's been very poor this season in spells. We have seen tiny glimmers of the quality that he does have by putting the ball in, and he's delivering to the ball in the box, and it can be dangerous at times. But there's been so many times this season that I've been scratching my head here and asking questions as to how are you getting your game over somebody like Almiron. And yes, I know people aren't a huge fan of Almiron, but he isn't that bad. Like, people like to pinpoint Almiron, and I'm going to say a scapegoat him at times, because I think people do scapegoat Miggy. I'm going to use that word, I really am, and say, oh, he's 1 foot, he's a 1 foot player, which I get, but most wingers come inside and cut in and deliver with the stronger foot, and so I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, I should be using his other foot. Of course I'm not. I would love to see Miggy start. I really would. Miggy's another one who has been away on international duty with Paraguay. But I think Eddie will go for Jacob Murphy. I really want Miggy to get a chance, but I think it will be Jacob Murphy. The only other option that Eddie Howe has is the possibility of moving Gordon back onto the right-hand side, then bringing Harvey Barnes in on the left. I don't know. It has worked at times. On the same hand that it hasn't. But I think Barnes will miss out on the start in this game, and I think it'll be Gordon on the left and Jacob Murphy on the right. Which leads us to up front. We now have options up front. Apparently, rumours are that we may have both strikers available. So let's go Alexander Isak up top. Great to see him back. He's back in training. Eddie Howe mentioned it in his press conference that he has been training for the last handful of days as well. So great news. The option of Callum Wilson possibly being on the bench, absolute music to everybody's ears, I would imagine. So yeah, going into a game where we have two senior professionals that are strikers. Yes, I know we've got Asula, but for some reason Eddie Howe just hasn't really featured him. That's up to you to make your mind up on there. He did obviously feature Wimbledon, but for some reason we just refused to pass him the ball at times. So yeah, Alexander Isak up top. Possibility of Callum Wilson coming off the bench as well. So that's my starting 11. Let me know what your starting 11 is as well. If you've got any sort of difference in opinion of me, just let me know. Leave a comment below. If you agree with us, great. But it's all about opinions. So drop a comment there below. Let us know what you think the score will be as well, because that's always interesting to hear. I think we're in for a tough game. Really, really tough game at St James's Park. We'll just know how quick Brighton are on the attack, especially the counter attack as well. But we struggle against Everton. Everton, 10, 11 men behind the ball. So we probably play our better football when teams come at us a little bit. We'll see it with Man City. So yeah, hopefully that opens up the game for both teams, and we're going to see a decent game at St James's Park. But yeah, don't forget to like the video if you have liked this one. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that. It is just $2.99 a month to become a member. If you do want to give that extra bit back as well, it helps us out massively. I'll see you next time. What you doing? Ta-ra.